Welcome to Ulua. You live, you work, you art.
Hello, this is Carol from Ulua, and I am dressed like a bear. The bear don't wear clothes, I know, but it's super cold here. And I was talking to a friend some days ago, and we were talking about how now I said how difficult it is now to be bored, to be just not knowing what to do next, because we are surrounded by so much stimuli from YouTube, in my case, from notifications, work, calls. Everything is like all the time getting us into response mode, we could say, into a reactive mode of working or living. And I remember when I was a child, I was a little girl and I was almost surrounded by adults at the time because I didn't have many neighbors. And until my sister came, and she's a little bit younger than me, I didn't have anyone to play with sometimes. So when I was bored and I would say to my mom or family in general, hey, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. And the response they would have at the time was, oh, go to the backyard or take a book from the bookcase, read something. Those was basically the things that I had, or I had to walk a long distance in order to visit a friend or a friend from school in order to play. So I would spend most of the time in the backyard, for example, and maybe I would watch um, an ant walking around, and I would follow that ant, sorry, and then I would go maybe after some flowers that I would find in the backyard, or in I don't know, those kind of things, or just sitting and play with sand, with well, we play with so many things, and we are still alive. um, and yes, so I remember there were times that I was super bored, and I would create or imaginate or work with my mind and create, I don't know, sand castles, and I would come up with ideas um, in order not to be bored at that time. So imagination was really active at that time. And sometimes I would have some friends for a visit, and then we would play with things we have just at hand. We didn't have tablets or cell phones, anything like that. We didn't have a computer at home. And so you just had to use your imagination, which is something that I don't quite see right now in children, for example. I don't see that much children either. But yes, I can see, and also from what I gather that people tell me from their children, I kind of see they don't want to play outside. They don't want to do things that maybe was the common thing to do for us when I was, or for people my age when I was a child. And what I said to my friend was, because he was curious, he said, but why is that you say that you miss being bored? And I said, oh, because I feel like all the time we have things going on in life, and right now we don't have that time to be sitting and just uh, waiting for time to pass, right? And maybe start imagining some things and creating and doing other things as adults, of course, or not. Maybe just like children, they say that creatives are children that haven't grown, or at least that part of the creativity part hasn't been really developed into a formal and serious thing. So when I was talking to my friend about this, he said, I see what you mean by boredom, but I can't fully take it as that, and I take it as meditation. And I said, okay, I'm not that full on board with meditation, even though I think I kind of meditate when I do some exercises and dancing and that kind of thing that I have also. I think I've said that in the past. But anyways, that's for another topic. So he associates this boredom or this quietness, this being just sitting, but I don't think they are exactly the same, but well, it may apply. So he says he does an exercise that he learned from a teacher where he used to go to a practice as an actor. And I thought it could be interesting maybe to talk in another time, because he said that he connects with his body. He does some kind of meditation, I think. But I'm talking about doing nothing at all and being really bored. I think boredom is like maybe you can meditate and be bored, but I don't think it's really not the purpose, nor the way it's supposed to be. I'm not sure about that, but I would say that being bored is like just being, I don't know what to do, I don't feel like doing anything. And being bored in itself, I think it's a good thing, because if it is a good thing, if after some time you can walk out of that state where you don't know what to do and you feel like nothing is appealing to you, and you say, maybe I don't know what to do really, and I don't feel like doing anything. I think that state is good for about 15 minutes or so, and maybe if you want to improve your creativity, your way of thinking, acting, functioning, I think a good idea could be, for example, okay, I'm bored, and let's say I'm bored right here, right now, in front of my computer. So what I'll do maybe is just walk out near the window, or I will stay near the window, catching some sun, doing something completely different. So even that boredom is like stuck on your body, on you, and you're willing to do nothing, just by staying in another place. Maybe some things catch your attention. For example, something I do is I go to the window right here, a few steps, and I would just stay there, just looking around or looking out outside the window if it's day. And most of the time, what I end up doing is just looking at another bookcase, just like this one I have over there. And there's always something catching my attention. So in a little time, maybe I won't start reading anything, but just by looking at the things that I have there, and I have also some decoration, some objects that I really like. So by looking at them, I think, oh, maybe I could, I don't know, yes, I could start reading some of the books there, because it's been ages since I haven't read something and it gets my attention again. Or I might look at these objects and say, oh, I could do this or that, and I could do, I don't know, something sparks that creativity, that curiosity into following something else. But if you just stay in the same place and stay bored, maybe it will take hours in order for you to move on. If you can't move physically to another place, like it happened to me in the past, what I do is just, if I was not listening to music, I would start listening to music, and I would be trying to find the song that could spark something different in me, especially if I was like a bit down. I put something that make me feel great. So I would like change the vibe, we could say, and sometimes if you are too high, maybe in euphoric or something like that, you can put music in order to calm you down. Those kind of things. If you are, for example, in a computer. Um, but anyways, you don't have even to have a computer. You can use your cell phone. If you don't have anything like that, you can just walk. Look in another direction. And well, I have plenty of things to look at here, and I love every little thing I'm just looking at. And it can spark your ideas, it can spark your imagination. For example, I have some birds that I have done myself, hanging in the wall, so maybe these birds could ignite something. If you want to write a poetry about birds, or if you want to a poem, sorry, about birds, or I don't know, you just have to figure out on yourself. It might not sound that easy, and also not that interesting if you have to find it by yourself, but I think it's the only way in order for you to spark your creativity is through these kind of things. Sometimes staying bored a little bit, because again, with too much things in our minds, we need like this reset. I see it like a reset of our minds. And now that I say reset, I remember, and maybe if they are watching this, they will remember some colleagues I used to have, one of my first jobs, and when we were super tired and were really like after too much focus on some problem that we were solving, we would help one another, and someone would say, I need a reset, and then you would go and like touch their heads here or sometimes here, and just by putting their hands on them, they would say, oh, I'm living through that reset. Just a stupid story, but I remember that. So if you know what I'm talking about, my friends from the past, I say hi. And I think again, yes, to spark your creativity, you have to stay curious. You have to stay bored sometime. It's really important, I would say, to stay just looking outside the window, looking at the birds or anything, but just not looking just at the computer like I always do. That is why maybe I'm saying this, or your cell phone, and change something in your environment, in your stimuli. Something needs to change in order for you to change also your vibe. Maybe you don't need for things to change in your environment, but you can change something in your mind. There are some people that just change their thought and everything changes. That is also valid. It applies to you. Or another thing that could be useful for you, and sometimes I do it, but it's not that easy to make, I think, or maybe for you it is to do this reset, but do it, for example, by if you're doing it consciously, maybe it's difficult because it takes for you to think about something else completely. For example, I'll put this in this way. In order to change your vibe, but again, you have to practice this a little bit. But you could have, for example, I don't know, I'm sad, and I could have like a code phrase or a code word in order to, when you realize, think about that, and it flips around your full perception and everything. And it's not specifically, it is similar to what NLP trainers or coaches or people do, which is called pattern interruption. Yeah, we could say it's like kind of that. For example, if you are, I don't know, I'm sad and I'm thinking about, I'm sad because I see birds, for example. So I would think about, I don't know, color yellow, and that will like change my mind, or at least interrupt what I'm thinking about. That's kind of tricky. It's not that easy to do sometimes. Not for everyone could be easy, but maybe with enough practice, it could be useful. And or drink a mate for clarity, for mind clarity. Being open enough to change your perception, to change your mood. That can be helpful. And well, I got again sideways of was what I was trying to say, which is staying curious, staying bored. And I do believe that boredom is one of the most important keys in order to ignite or spark your creativity after that stage of boredom. I think it's totally necessary, because after that it's like you are renewed or you are reset in order to do something and to work on something. So yes. And another thing that I think sparks creativity is curiosity, of course. As I mentioned before, when I was a child, I would, I don't know, maybe look at an insect and then watch them, how they would behave, and maybe follow them sometimes, or maybe look at the plant and how the wind was blowing. Little things, little changes, little details that would take me into this another worlds of imaginations and play and that kind of thing. So yes, and now speaking a little bit more about techniques that can help you in your creativity. For example, something that I have taught several times at different companies and that kind of thing. Not only in order to be creative, but also in order to solve problems, real problems that they had, is a technique that is, I wouldn't say ancient, but it's quite old. It's called the 5 whys. There are several ways to do it. I would say there's no one correct one. It's not a correct one way of doing it, but at least do 5 whys question. And from what I've seen in experience, I've only known only one person until now from corporate. He was a manager that was really, really good at doing this exercise. But most of us, I would say, we need to practice this technique. Even though you say, "Wow, but 5 whys." I used to say that. I used to say, "That's nonsense. That's a stupid technique." Because I ask why and then why and then why. But if you do it consciously, and I think at first, just to practice, do this once, just with 5 questions, because we are not used to doing that. So the first 5 whys, ask them just cause, because they will be the worst ones that you will ask. And I've seen this from experience. 100% of the times I did it with individuals, except with this guy, as I'm saying. And I've done this with groups too. And always the 5 first whys are terrible. They don't get you anywhere. But after, if you continue putting the effort into practicing it and asking another why, that it's that makes sense, and continue asking this. And also, it would be wise or good for you if you do like ramifications that we that we ended up doing in most of the cases. You start with 5 whys, and then maybe this why, this response can lead to another why, and this one, I don't know, yes, and this one can lead to another one, and maybe that's another 5, 5, 5. So you see this deal. When you get to the third, I say, yeah, like the third branch, or like the third, yes, the third branch opening, to the third level, that's what I want to say, to the third level of this branch opening, that is when you start to understand kind of like the problem or the situation you are into. Because the first ones, again, are like flimsy, we could say, like they are questions that are not really deep. So if you want to do that, go and find a little more and more and more in depth. And you may say, okay, but if I'm bored, what I'm going to ask these whys about? And yeah, you can ask yourself why I am bored, or you can, for example, do this exercise when you want to understand something. Maybe you're not completely bored, you are just curious about something and you want to understand a little bit more. Then you should do this exercise, or you could do this exercise. You shouldn't do anything that you don't want to do. But I think this is a really good approach for doing that, as I've seen. But again, doing it consciously, putting the effort, taking the time into doing this a little bit more deep, not just the surface of the things, because you will end up with some answers or some things that are, we could say, like the meh, that they are okay, but they don't really have the content that you want to work with. And well, this ended up being about creativity, but I didn't want to talk specifically about creativity. I wanted to talk about boredom. And so maybe some other time I will also talk about some creativity exercises, we could say. But yes, just by doing those two things, staying curious and doing the right and asking the right questions. Again, they don't have to be super complicated. They can be why, just why, and following the answers into that to a certain depth you find for yourself that it's okay. And being bored, again, I can emphasize enough being bored and having the time for you to just do nothing and allow yourself, for example, to take this time. Maybe you could say, I don't think you can plan to be bored. I don't think that's something that you can be planned. Maybe, I don't know, it has never happened for me that way. But these times for you to just do nothing, like I said, maybe doing nothing is watching outside the window, just laying down and listening to music, or just laying down like that plainly, or going out for a walk for no reason. It's not that you have to go to the supermarket, or if you have to go to buy something out, just going out just cause. It could be a good way. And again, this sounds like something that can be done right now because we are too busy doing things. And it is hard for me sometimes too, even though I know these are good things to do. but I'm really feeling bored or overwhelmed maybe because sometimes I'm spending too much time on the computer and I'm saying I'm done. I want to do something else. And that is when I get this boredom status, which is maybe not boredom, but just getting away from the computer. And then I can renew it and reset it in order to do something else. So, well, those are just two things you can do. A little bit more, maybe. But I just wanted to talk to you about that. And I think that we are lacking of these times of just unplugging ourselves nowadays. And it comes to mind right now another topic that maybe is related, but not exactly what I wanted to talk, but I will talk it about anyway because it just came to mind, which is this detox. They call them the detox from technology, which I don't think we can really do them for the long run because, again, as I was saying, we are working with computers, with cell phones, with tablets, with everything is almost everything is online now. So we need to do those kind of things, and maybe this detox isn't really going to help in the long run. So I sometimes do this kind of detoxing thing, you could say. That sometimes I decide, okay, for I don't know, sometime I will not post things on certain platforms, or I will just I don't know. You can decide whatever you want about that, but just getting away from a couple of weeks or from a couple of days and saying, okay, this it might work for you. That's okay. But if you say, okay, I will just shut down my cell phone and will not talk to anybody, these extreme situations, again, the idea is to get more balance the whole year and not just 1 week a year. So, well, you do you and you experiment and see what sticks for you. But I think that we need to take other approaches that are more balanced because technology is already in our lives and we can do little about that if we want to continue working in this society and functioning somehow in this society. Of course, you can always go to the mountain and live like with no technology and that kind of thing. But if you want, it's okay. But I don't think that's the solution for everything. So, anyways, I'm rambling again about so many things. So yeah, that's it. Comment if you like these ideas that I have said, and only a few ones, but I think they are important in order to remember, if you are old enough like me, to remember those past times. They were not I don't say they were better than right now. They were different, but we can take some things from the past into our current lives and also be grateful about the good things that technology has brought us to this day. So comment what is that you think about that and what about the tools that I gave. The ideas, I would say. Yes, the why questions is used as a tool and a technique for problem solving. But yes, just comment, like, share, whatever it is that you do. And if you want, you can also invite me for a coffee, as I always say. So that's it for now. And I hope you are okay and you are safe for the rest of the week. And see you soon. Bye bye.
Stay tuned for Ulua's next episode.